Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out the range with a bit of an oddity from years gone by, and it's called the VEPR Hunter. Now the VEPR rifles, which most of you would be more accustomed to seeing them looking like this, or maybe with their thumbhole stocks that were necessary because of various import regulations. But when we think of a VEPR, we kind of think of this. And the VEPR is basically an RPK style AK, has a thicker receiver material, has the bulged trunnion area here, and they're just chunky rifles. And for many shooters, many AK lovers out there like myself, the VEPR was just kind of one of those rifles everybody wanted, even though they're a bit heavier than the standard AKM. But there are different versions, obviously, of this rifle made available, and not just in the United States. So one of the rifles that was manufactured by MOLOT, who makes the VEPRs, was the rifle called the Hunter. And it's not to be confused with, I think it's called the VEPR Supreme or something like that, which has a thumbhole stock. This one's a little bit different, and it's a little bit rare. It's kind of hard to find a lot of information on them on the internet out there. What I do know is obviously they haven't been coming into the country for a long time now because of all sorts of reasons. But we're going to start off shooting the 7.62x39 VEPR that I have in my collection. Beautiful rifle, obviously. It's been set up with just conventional AK furniture on it. I do have a Huxworks suppressor on there, and this one is chambered in 7.62x39. The Hunter we're going to talk about today is chambered in 308. But let's do a little bit of shooting with this bad boy. Certainly a fan favorite. A lot of folks ask me, how can I get involved in the firearms business in that particular community? And one of the best ways to do that is to become a gunsmith. Every gunsmith I know is just overbooked with work. It's a very good living. And so if you would like to become a gunsmith, you need to go to a gunsmithing school or become an apprentice for an existing gunsmith. But Modern Gun School is an accredited college that also works with veterans in the GI Bill, where you can go and get a degree from accredited college in gunsmithing and then go out and start your own gunsmithing business, which I think is a really great option. Again, throughout my entire life, gunsmiths have always been able to earn a really good living, assuming they have a really strong work ethic. So please check out Modern Gun School. I do have a link in the video description below. So this is the VEPR Hunter. Now this wouldn't be just sold in the United States, obviously. These would be used in other places around Europe, Russia, and places like that, but they were imported for a short time, and I believe in small numbers. It's hard to get actual numbers out of any of the importers. But in relatively small numbers. And why do I say that? Because try Googling one of these and trying to find out information about them. It's very difficult to find much info. Now, over the years, I've seen them pop up from time to time in stores and online for sale. I know that they've been offered in different chamberings. This one's chambered in 308, but I know that they've made them or offered them in other cartridges as well. But I don't have a full list of those cartridges. Maybe Wikipedia, the accurate source of information that it is, I'm saying that facetiously, might have more information. I haven't looked there yet. I try to avoid to stay off Wikipedia. It's just info's limited on these. So let's kind of talk about what is a little bit different about this over a standard MOLOT made VEPR. Now this does have the 1.5 mil thick receiver on it like the RPK. It does have the bulged trunnion. It's just covered up in the wood down here, but you can see it from the side a little bit. So it's basically running the same type of receiver that they've used historically in their military firearms, but they've made some changes to it. First of all, as you can tell, we have this nice stock, and it's pretty darn comfortable, really. It feels good. I like it's kind of triangular in the front, sets nicely on a bag, has a nice thick grip back here. It's a more vertical wrist on it, so it's going to give you more of what a target rifle, like in the modern sense, would do for you, like, you know, an A5 stock on the USMC rifle. Has that more vertical grip on it. And then you have this little bit of a swell here, kind of a more of a European cut where it kind of swoops down to the rear, but you do have a cheek rest cut into the side over here, kind of minimalistic, and a recoil pad. Now it does have a mounting system for an optic over here, but it's slightly different than what you would find on a standard VEPR. So I can show you what that would look like. So you can see on a standard VEPR, that mount's going to be much lower on the receiver. This one's much higher on the receiver and purposely built for this rifle. The rifle did come with the mount that you see here. So you would need this mount, obviously, to go with the rifle. A standard AK style mount isn't going to work with the Hunter. So if you do find one out there, make sure if you buy it used, it comes with its mount if it's not already on there. And then moving forward, we're going to have a completely different type of trigger group here. It looks more conventional. It looks like something off a target rifle. One of the things I dislike tremendously is this push button safety. I'll explain to you why when we get to the shooting portion of the video. I'll demonstrate why most likely. But that's just a horrible implementation of a safety. All this really does is block the trigger so that it can't be pulled. You'll notice that the lever that AKs are famous for, the selector lever and safety and all that stuff, is absent from the receiver, which also makes for a different top cover. If you look back here where the recoil spring guide is, where it pokes through on the rear, it's a much smaller footprint on that button. Almost looks like cartoonishly small. Moving forward, pretty much standard fare up here. It does use its own proprietary magazines. They would originally ship with a 5-rounder and a 10-rounder. I don't know what I've done with my 10-rounder. It's in the box somewhere, but this is the 5-rounder that I have in it. Standard charging handle, bolt carrier, all that stuff in there, standard VEPR fare. We have a RPK style rear sight here, which is adjustable easily for windage, and then the front sight is adjustable for windage and elevation for a hard 0. But I do like these RPK style sights. You'll notice the gas tube is exposed. We have a fluted barrel, which is kind of interesting, that has a built-in cut style compensator, a brake, if you will, on the end of the barrel, and that's built into the barrel itself. This one, see, yeah, this one was imported by TGI in Knoxville, Tennessee, so that does go back a ways. I want to say at some point Wolf was importing VEPRs. A number of different companies have imported them over the years, but TGI is an older name in the import game. I can quickly show you what it looks like on the inside. We'll do that in a separate segment. To do that and get the bolt and carrier completely out, I do have to take the scope off. I don't want to mess with that right now because the rifle is zeroed, and even though it's supposed to be a return to 0 scope mount, I found that these types of mounts many times will be 1 or 2 inches off at 100 yards once you remove them and put them back on. So I don't want to mess with the 0 right now. Perhaps after we do the shooting segment, I'll go ahead and strip the rifle down and show you what it looks like on the inside and how it compares to a standard VEPR, which, like I said, pretty darn similar. So real quick before we start shooting, I want to talk about something I like about the setup of this particular rifle. So a lot of times AKs with, Russian optics, or let's just say Russian influenced optics that were made in other countries that were in the sphere of the Soviet Union back in the day, they would have the optics setting off to one side. They wouldn't be directly over the bore. And for some folks, that could be a little bit challenging to zero the rifle. This sets directly over the bore with the mount that comes with the gun. So that makes it easier for people like me and just about everybody else to zero it and get good solid dope all the way out to whatever distance you're going to be shooting at. With the accuracy of this rifle, I probably wouldn't hunt past 200, 300 yards with it. And you'll see that here. Maybe the rifle will prove me completely wrong, but generally when I've shot it in the past, I've had this rifle for many years. It's not the most accurate rifle, even with match ammunition. The thing I don't like about it the most, as I mentioned earlier, is this trigger safety. That's different than from your standard AK style safety. And what this is doing is moving, it's preventing the trigger bar from moving. And so when it's in the safe position, you can't rack the bolt fully because it's blocking that trigger bar from dropping completely. So when the hammer comes back and it's under the hooked sear, it's keeping it from moving down far enough when the bolt pushes down on the hammer because it's blocking the travel of that bar. Let me demonstrate. So that it'll come back to here and stop when the safety's on. And then this is the part that really drives you nuts. It seems like it has a good positive click, but when firing the rifle, many times this safety will automatically put itself on at the moment of firing, and it will seize the bolt rearward. And the only way to get it unstuck is to tap this with a little rubber mallet I have, and once the safety is moved over, well, I think I got it bound up now. If I tap that safety, it releases the bolt. Now, under firing pressures, that really binds up and does require tapping it with a hammer. So that's one of the things I really dislike about it. And it just seems to be, this is one of the few surfaces that we can't get Gorilla Tape to stick to effectively, so I can't even put a piece of Gorilla Tape on it to keep it in the fire position. So that's probably my biggest complaint. Now, is that true of all these rifles? Couldn't tell you. All right, so I already talked about the proprietary magazines. Today we're just going to do some shooting. We're going to do 2 5-round groups. We're going to do a group with the 168 grain Federal Gold Medal match using a Sierra Match King. And we'll do the same 5-round test on a different target with 175 grain bullets. And both of these, again, are from Federal. I do want to mention that Federal supplies this ammunition free of charge to the channel, and we want to thank them for doing that. Been using Federal ammunition my entire life. Love the ammunition, love the company, good people. All right, so with all that being said, let's load the rifle up, get everything all set. We'll do the 168 grainers first, and let's see what type of a group we can pull off. 168 grain, gold medal match. Make sure that safety is in the fire position. It has to be in the fire position to charge the rifle. And you'll probably see me reach up and touch that safety after every shot, just because I don't want it to bind the bolt up in the action. Now, I will also mention this is a 4-power optic. I've had this rifle so long that LPVOs, the max magnification back then was 4 power. The 6 powers are available, but they're really expensive. But this is a 4-power Vortex. So it's not a whole lot of magnification, but certainly enough to get the job done. All right. So we have some Federal 150 grain ball, just average ball ammo. The gun may like lighter bullets than the 168s, 175s that I have out here in the match category. This is all I have for lighter bullets, and it's just standard ball. This stuff is not super accurate. It's just range ammo. But we're going to take a few shots, 5 shots, at 250 yards at a challenge steel target, man size down there, and we'll see how we do. Not too bad for man-sized targets. All right, some more 150 grain ball Federal, and we're going to take a shot at an 8-inch challenge steel target that's at 150 yards and see how we fare there. Not too bad. I'll try some 175s next. It's these guys. I'm gonna have to look it up. I don't recall what the twist rate is on this barrel, if it's a 1 in 10 or something else. Try to find that information for you guys. All right, make sure that safety is off. I'll shoot at the second target. Yeah. So let's go ahead and take the rifle apart and see what it looks like on the inside. I am going to remove the scope now that we've shot our groups. So it's just like a military mount, but not as robust. So this doesn't lock. There's no like detent that locks it in the closed position. It just is friction fit. So when you slide this over, then your optic will slide right off. Set that aside. Taking it apart. We're going to go ahead and drop the magazine out of it. It's empty. And then, like any other AK, you have this little tiny tail back here. You're just going to push that in and take your top cover off. Recoil spring and guide rod. And then your bolt carrier. And you can see inside the trigger mechanism there, you're not going to be able to see how the safety works, but you can see the hammer has kind of a unique profile to it. But when the safety is on, it limits the travel of that hammer, and that's what's causing the bolt carrier to bind up with the safety in the safe position. You can take the gas tube off. I haven't done this in a while. Maybe it'll tell us what the twist rate is. You can see all the markings in there. Nice markings. But, yeah. All right, so that's taking it apart. So it's pretty much standard AK fare, as you can see. Long stroke gas piston, standard small stem style bolt. There's that unique top cover. Pretty interesting rifle for sure. So the question then becomes, how well does it shoot? Well, keep in mind, folks, these rifles, and when I say these rifles, I mean Russian AKs that come into the United States, are of varying quality. I have a rifle that Definitive Arms built for me on a VEPR that I've used and demonstrated in video several times that shows that rifle, chambered in .308 as well, is capable of sub-minute accuracy with 5-shot groups. Clearly, this rifle is not. Russian barrels are all over the place. And I'm speculating when I say this, but I would say perhaps even the export barrels are B quality barrels, the A quality barrels, maybe go to the Russian military or preferred markets. I don't know. All I know is I have some VEPRs that shoot outstanding, and I have others like this one that just kind of fling lead everywhere. So I've never really been impressed with this particular rifle. Now, the little bit of information I found from 6+ years ago when these things were being imported and some people were buying and shooting them, I've seen people do hand loads with theirs and get respectable groups, pretty close to MOA accuracy. So maybe with hand loads, betting the action in the stock, something like that would improve the accuracy. I'm just not going to invest any time in it because chances are it's just the chrome lined barrel is just perhaps maybe a little out of round or just isn't good. Because I've seen some pretty nasty Russian barrels in the past when we've sectioned them and looked inside. They've been off center, out of round, all sorts of things. So who knows? The accuracy, I guess I've kind of already alluded to the fact that it's less than stellar. First group, 168 grain Federal. Keep in mind, guys, this ammunition typically shoots good out of a toilet paper tube, okay? I mean, it is really rare to see a 3.5-inch group at 100 yards, 5 rounds of Federal gold medal match, even out of just standard military rifles. So this is bad accuracy. So maybe a heavier bullet would do. The 175 grain Federal gold medal match gave me exactly a 3.5-inch center to center from the 2 farthest points, inch group at 100 yards with horizontal stringing. Yeah. So when earlier in the video when I said I probably wouldn't use this rifle for anything other than maybe 200 yards or so, I just remembered why. I haven't shot this thing in many years. It's just not something I think that would be useful for an ethical kill past 200 yards. Maybe if I found good hunting ammo, it likes a little bit better. If I home rolled something, I could get a little bit better accuracy out of it. But again, I'm not going to invest my time in that. I'm simply not that interested in it. I have it because it's a collector's piece and it's based on a popular military action. All right, so if you have one of these, if you have a VEPR of any kind, post your groups down below in the comment section. I'm kind of curious what types of groups you're getting because as I said already, I have some VEPRs that shoot lights out and I have rifles like this one. So what has been your experience? Let me know. Also, I said Supreme Vepr or something like that. I think it was called the Super Vepr I was referring to, that's very similar to this one, but has a thumb hole stock on it, different barrel profile, things like that. If you have one of those, let me know how they're shooting. All right, guys, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so we can continue to bring you content like this, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. There is a link in the video description below. Right here on YouTube, you got the subscribe button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Mash that button and you can help support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. Thank you for 17 years of support. Swing by, check out Copper Custom. We'll talk to you guys soon.